Curtiss P-36 Hawk first flew in 1935, and it was a groundbreaking design. In a world where most military leaders still believed that biplane fighters were state-of-the-art, the P-36 was an all-metal monoplane design with a fully retractable undercarriage. It had a Pratt & Whitney radial that made more than 1,000 horsepower, and it was much faster than even the best biplane fighter. But Curtiss was not the only company in the world working on projects like this, and they soon found that their design was a bit inferior to more aerodynamic inline-powered offerings like the German Me-109 and the British Supermarine Spitfire. The United States was not a country at the time, or ever really, that liked being behind in military aviation technology, and Curtiss knew that. So they took the P-36 design back to the drawing board, installed an Allison inline that made about the same horsepower as that Pratt & Whitney radial, and the P-40 was born. They were able to actually fly this airplane for the first time in 1938 and get it into service only a year later in 1939 because of the start they had on it. It wasn't a ground-up new design. It was essentially a P-36 with an inline engine, and the new aerodynamics made it as fast as its monoplane metal contemporary fighters of the day. And the P-40 is one of the most well-known and one of the most popular World War II warbirds out there because of this guy. That's Claire Chennault. His American volunteer group, the Flying Tigers, made waves in China, fighting the Japanese with many different models of the P-40 that made the plane famous. Much like the Fokker triplane, people that aren't even into airplanes, if you show them a Fokker triplane, they may not know that it's a Fokker triplane, but they'll point to it and go, the Red Baron. They know about that airplane because of the Red Baron, and people know about the P-40 because of the shark's teeth, because of the Flying Tigers. And that brings us to the model that we're featuring in today's scale airshow flight. This is the FMS 1400mm P-40B Warhawk, also known as the Kitty Hawk if it was flown by British or Russian pilots in World War II. They both flew them for the Allies. This model's been around for quite some time. It was introduced in 2015, so it's now a full decade old. And back then, FMS dominated the larger foam warbird market. They had a series of 1400 to 1450 millimeter planes, over a dozen different models, and they were super popular. So why is this one still around today? Well, a couple of reasons. Back then, all of the warbirds this size were powered by 4-cell. As you well know, anything this size now, even airplanes smaller than this, are 6-cell powered. This one had a higher kV motor and a more optimized prop for better performance. So it, even by today's standards, has enough vertical to present well as a warbird and give you those big warbird vertical maneuvers that you're looking for. And the other thing is, it was one of the most detailed airplanes that they make. Even by today's standards, there's just a few things that might change if they were to design and make a P-40 this size today. Just very, very well done. And this one is a proper P-40B, which in my mind is the best looking of all the P-40 models due to the more subdued and streamlined air intake underneath that prop. This one is modeled after Flying Tiger ace Robert Smith's plane, and the paint scheme is fairly accurate. It has a fully retractable undercarriage, 90-degree rotating mains, a retractable tail wheel with tail wheel gear doors. It has proper P-40 split flaps and wingtip navigation lights, and a host of other scale details that really make it look the part. It even has proper P-40B armament. 250 caliber machine guns depicted on the nose, and 4 30 caliber machine guns on the wings. Fun fact, if the P-40B was being imported to Great Britain, those 30 calibers would be replaced by British 303s because they had more readily available ammo for those. So it's just a really well done airplane, and when you think about what you'd get if they were to design and make this airplane all new today, it would probably be 6-cell powered, even though you don't have to have that to fly it like a warbird. People like to fly them not scale sometimes, and it might be useful for that. It would have probably a spring-loaded latch instead of tape and magnets for the battery hatch. And that would be about it. It's got everything else. It even comes with a removable drop tank that you can either fly it with or without. And that drop tank, interestingly enough, was introduced in the P-40C, but a lot of P-40Bs were retrofitted to be able to utilize the drop tank, so it is accurate to depict that on this airplane. When you think about how old it is and how close it is to what we'd get today in a perfect world, if they did everything exactly the way that we wanted them to do it, that's pretty damn close, and that's pretty impressive. One of the real beauties of this model is that it flies as good as it looks, and flying is what this series is all about. The Model Aviator Scale Flight series has been around since we started the channel. We're going to change it to Model Aviator Scale Airshow flights because that's really what I do in each one of them. Haven't done one for a while, so I'm excited about this. I'm going to take this P-40B and from taxi out to taxi in, do my level best to mimic what you'd see one of these airplanes do at an actual full-scale air show. Obviously, these are not reviews, but it's not lost on us that anytime we fly an airplane and we make it look really good, people want to know what our setup is, so we will provide you with that after the flight. Our full setup page is going to be there for you to take a look at. The batteries we're using, the receiver we use, all our settings, mechanical adjustments, everything will be there for you. And of course, there will be links in the description where if you decide you want to add a P-40 to your hangar, you can. And when you use that, it helps support our channel. We appreciate it when you do. Thank you. Now's a really good time to add one to your hangar if you want to, because they're $50 off for the FMS pre-Black Friday and Black Friday sale. So be sure and check them out. Enough talking. It's time to fly this bad boy. Enjoy the air show. We'll see you next week with something cool with wings.
When a full-scale P-40 takes off, the hydraulic system can't handle the load of bringing both main gear up at the same time, so it tends to favor one side, get it almost all the way retracted, and then it begins to bring the other side up. We've given our retracts separate channels in our receiver so we can adjust the timing and mimic that with our model. We also had a little bit of wind this morning, so I caught a gust on takeoff, but got it gathered up. The first maneuver will be a mild brake, followed by a photo pass. Next, I'm going to do a barrel roll. I'm going to offset my exit to set up a right turn in for the next maneuver. Next comes the slow roll. I'm going to get it turned around, adjust my line, and then perform a half Cuban. That's a rolling reversal to spice up the turnaround, and next is the 4-point roll. Here I'm going to get it completely vertical, quarter roll into a Humpty bump, another quarter roll, and an exit in the opposite direction. This is a topside half Cuban, and we're going to roll out and exit left. I threw in a full deflection aileron roll there. Bear in mind that's full deflection for a full-scale P-40, not necessarily the model. We're putting the gear and flaps down, setting up for the dirty pass. This is going to be a high-speed photo pass, and then we'll immediately pull to a 45-degree angle and do a reverse half Cuban. Here we're doing a 360-degree turn. Setting up now for the inverted pass. The P-40B did have a carbureted Allison inline, but it had a pressure carburetor, not a float style carburetor like the Merlins in the early model Spitfires. So with a P-40B, you could put negative G on it and fly it inverted. Gear and flaps down, setting up for landing, I'm going to try to 3-point it this time, and I'm going to use the same short 180-degree approach a lot of P-40 pilots used back in the day. P-40 has a very long nose, and on a long approach, the runway disappears in front of you. So they would use this short approach so they could keep the runway in sight right up until the point their wings went level right off the end of the runway. That was definitely not my best 3-point, but I'll take it. While I'm taxiing back, I just want to say the P-40 is an amazing warbird, such an amazing history, and FMS did a great job of making a model of it. Truly enjoyed flying it for you. Hope you enjoyed the air show. Take care. We'll see you next week.